delighted to be here this evening in Leinster House to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the decriminalisation of homosexuality. Few people have done more to achieve that than this wonderful woman here beside me, the former Minister for Justice, Maire Geoghegan Quinn. So I grew up in a post-decriminalisation society, and it's very hard to even imagine what it would be like growing up where a country would even criminalise you just for being who you are. So a lot has happened over the last 30 years. But what resistance did you face at the time, and how did you, I suppose, make such a landmark change?
Well, one of the things that happened was when I was made Minister of Justice, which I wasn't expecting at the time, going into the department. My first memory is going into the department, meeting the Secretary General and all the Assistant Secretaries. And they all came in with their, they had their list of what was in their area was important. And then it came to legislation, promised legislation and so on. And suddenly I found that decriminalisation was at the very end of the list. And I said to the Assistant Secretary at the time, I said, why is that down at the very end of the list? And he said, because I said, we're trying to protect ministers. He said, because we think it will be very difficult and very challenging and probably cause a lot of trouble. And I said, well, I've always in my life as a teacher and in politics decided that if there's something that's really difficult, take it on first to get it done. It went very smoothly. I think one of the things that was really important when I went to Cabinet with it, the first person that spoke at the Cabinet when I had presented it was David Griffin.
Wow.
And I will never forget him for that, because he was a staunch Catholic. He would have had fairly conservative views and all of that. And he came in right away before anybody else home, and he said, well, I for one, he said, support the legislation. But the thing I think that kind of stopped people from sort of being more aggressive about it was, I said at the parliamentary party meeting, I said, I'm looking down there, most of the people I see are all men. Most of the people I see have families. I want all of you to think, I said, if tomorrow morning or a couple of mornings' time, your son was to come into the kitchen and say, Dad, I have something to tell you. And he told you that he was gay. I said, you have a question to ask yourself. What do you say to that son? You've loved him for 18 or 20 years. Suddenly he's something that you don't understand or like. Are you going to throw him out? Are you going to put your arms around him and tell him, I mightn't like or understand what you are, but I love you and I wish you every success and I'll support you.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of changed people as well.
So I suppose we've obviously come on leaps and bounds over the last 30 years. There is, I suppose, a feeling out there at the moment that maybe LGBT rights are a little bit vulnerable with the rise of the far right. There's a huge amount of anti-trans narrative. Is there any similarities in terms of what you're seeing now and what you saw back then? And what would your advice be on how to counter that kind of backput?
Well, there's no similarities, first of all. The far right are a breed unto themselves that we certainly don't want to see and we don't want to support. And there was no such breed, if you like, now. But I do think, like 30 years later, I watched the televisions when they had the wonderful scenes outside Dublin Castle when equal marriage went through, which was wonderful, and I loved it and got emotional with it. But at the same time, I think there's more that needs to be done to support gay rights and support gay and lesbian people. And I think that we live in a kinder society that's prepared to give that kind of support. And certainly, I would hope to see that if anything that's required, that Fianna Fáil will be in the forefront, delivering it.